Oh, good morning. Well, it's neat to be here this morning with Joan Williamson, who's one of Taupū's most fondly remembered and honoured mayors, and has been responsible for many, many changes in this district, including Owen Delaney Park, the Event Centre, AC Baths, Superloo, Barry Hickling Park, and this area here, the Great Lakes Centre, the construction of the Great Lakes Centre, which was in the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm really grateful that you could come and just share some of your knowledge, Jane, with us today, and just refresh our memories of the process that we went through to get to the point of this building that we're now sitting in at the Great Lakes Centre, which replaced the old Borough Hall in those days. And I just was keen to, I guess, have a bit of a conversation with you and just try and understand the process that you went through, the community's involvement and how they felt towards the project at the time. I'm sure it wasn't something that everybody was really supportive of, but now we see this building here and potentially we've outgrown it again as a community, so time to make some more changes. I was just really keen to capture some of your knowledge, Jane, so thanks for being with us today.
You're very welcome, Philip. It wasn't all that easy by any means, because you've got to remember we went through the whole of reorganisation of local government at that time and the amalgamation of the then Taupo Borough Council and the County Council. And like all marriages, there was a bit of negotiating and understanding going on, but it became very obvious that the buildings we had, the old Memorial Hall, every time a truck went down the street, and I might say at that time we had plans for the East Taupo Arterial. It took so long. The conception didn't take so long, but certainly the development of it before the birth was a very lengthy and increasing cost of business. But we were going through all those things that were happening, merging the two councils, realising the facilities we had were certainly not up to scratch. The old hall had very fond memories for a lot of people, but it literally rattled. Trucks would go down the road and performers would stop automatically while the louver windows rattled. And then they would pick up where they were and move on. There was community opposition to building here, to building this. I just love this Great Lakes Centre, it's my pride and joy. But there was a petition that went around and it was headed, should we have a white elephant of a building or a sewage upgrade? Well, of course, that was a nonsense, because the sewage upgrade was a different cost centre altogether, and the sewage upgrade was happening as well. But people don't quite understand development, and the many, many people who support things are the ones who seldom have petitions. I find it's the people who are nervous of change for whatever reason are the ones who make most of the objections.
I wondered what, if you can remember back, I'm sure you can too, what was the initiator for the Great Lakes Centre itself? Was it driven by the public? Was it driven by council? Was it?
It was definitely driven by council.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. But I think you'll find with all petitions, all going out for consultation, which we do, and we spend a lot of money, I say, councils and like bodies spend a lot of money on consultation. But if you look at the numbers of reply, a huge majority, you often have to assume that they either think, well, the council's going to get on with it anyway, or the council should know what they're doing because they've done the homework, or we want these things to happen, and they don't necessarily respond when you try to seek their opinions. And so a lot of it you just have to do your own homework very thoroughly as a council, and then get on and do it. And I've always believed when you go into office, you've got to look at what needs doing, do your homework, and then it's a case of doing it, done it. in that term as much as possible. The only way you make progress is to do that. And even with petitions against this Great Lakes Centre, it was a large percentage, surprising, were against it. So my dream has always been, and successive councils, that the heart of the town here, which I believe is the heart of Taupo Town. And of course, when I'm saying about Taupo Town, I always think district.
Yes.
We must always think district, but we're so close, particularly to the land around and to Turangi and even Magakino. But Magakino does have a choice of cultural things because they're close to Tokoroa, but the ideal has to be a flow down to the boat harbour with the heart of the town here. That's what we've always been a dream, that we get that flow down, that people can walk down and go down and enjoy going down from the central part of the town down to the boat harbour. Now, whether that will happen with the new concept or not, I really don't know. There'll always be several choices you'll make, whether it's what we're talking about basically here, but there'll always be other choices. At the end of the day, one choice might not necessarily be better than another one. But you've just got to go ahead and get on with it.
They talk about momentum, and it's much easier to change direction when you've got momentum. So you can turn the wheel all you like when you're standing still, but if you're just moving a little bit, tiny bits of momentum make all the difference. So momentum's important.
Absolutely. Look, you know, if something's going to be done, do it good quality, and do it so it's used and enjoyed by our local communities first and foremost, but certainly the visitors who we want to encourage. Because we have visitors, it means we have employment for our children and our grandchildren. And I walked in here many a time knowing some of the people who signed a petition against it. And some would sort of not look me in the eye and
I'll remain nameless.
And quite a few, and others say, can't think why we were worried about this place. We just love being able to come to the sun ballet or whatever we might have here. And other people, there were a few submitters who said, well, why don't you build the theatre bigger so that we can have the New Zealand Ballet Company or the orchestra? But we did our homework and we knew they wouldn't come here because we didn't have the accommodation places to fit. We would rather have 2 full nights in the theatre of a production than one half empty theatre. So, you know, and decisions like that weren't easy. But now is the time that we've grown that much more, and it'll start to get a bit tired looking soon. After 28 years.
It's right on cue, because if this project, the timeline for this project, we're in the discovery phase at the moment. We've got the master planning. By the end of this year, we'll have the master plan will be available, and then the long-term plan, and then we go into concept and detailed design. Then we procure any construction that was going to happen, which is scheduled for 2022, which is exactly 30 years after.
Yeah.
So its design life has been bang on perfect.
Even if you're a person, particularly a woman, after 32 or 33 years of stages, you could do something about the stage.
Yeah, blokes too. Mostly you've got to go for a walk.
Blokes are a little luckier, I think. So people say, oh, council, they could be way out of town somewhere. That's not actually true. Council needs to be accessible to the community. You shouldn't need to go, if you're in town, get the car to go somewhere out of town up by the AC bars or anywhere like that. But needs to have something with whatever council uses as their civic centre or whatever. There needs to be something that incorporates community use with it, if it's going to be in this area. But the big problem there is, I'm just giving you feedback that I get, and I'm belong to quite a few organisations, and is about the parking.
Yes.
The cars, because if you've got 100, 150, 200 staff, whatever, most of them will be in cars. And it's all real to say parking will be limited, but the fewer cars you can have that are obvious here, so I think that car park needs to be developed very quickly. Behind the McDonald's there.
Yes, yep.
And I can't see why probably the council chambers couldn't be built up above car park there and use this. It's not that far away. I don't know. I think that's going to be the greatest problem, is incorporating council use. If only the community could understand that that council use could be used for part of it for mums and creches and community use, but they don't. They just see it as councillors sitting around making decisions. And I'm not sure how you can, well, not sell that, but just get that, incorporate that concept. But if you do get it in this precinct here, you've got to deal with the parking. You see, so you probably got that already twirling around your mind of what you can do about that. But I think that's the greatest holdback of getting community buy-in. Staff members' vehicles. That's what I hear when there's even a Scrabble anywhere. You know, people really haven't got the idea or understand. I say people, many of the community, how many people go into the council buildings to see about something, talk about something, have a cup of tea, citizenship ceremonies which are increasing all the time, various functions that are held within council chambers and the associated rooms, that they're a community facility on their own, not just for councillors and staff making decisions.
I agree.
They use, I mean, I do understand that, but they use a great deal more than a lot of the general public out there realise that. They're a part of the heart of the town.
Oh, well, thank you, Joan. It was lovely to spend some time with you this afternoon. I'd really like to thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, and also just acknowledge the work that you did and the vision that you showed and the courage and the tenacity it took to get those many projects across the line that we talked about today that have been enjoyed by this community and this district for the last 3 or more decades. So thank you for that. Thank you also for just sharing with us and the current council how important it is for us in this time of change and as we progress as a district to weigh up the options, to do the research, to make decisions and to take action and to be progressive. So thank you very much for your words of encouragement, and thank you also for listening. Ka kite ana.